Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing a complete biochemical breakdown of your morning cup of coffee. We're going to look at exactly how your daily caffeine habit effectively hacks your brain's internal systems. So if you've ever wondered why coffee makes you feel so amazing in the morning but can leave you crashing unbelievably hard by 4 p.m., well, you're in the right place. Let's just dive right into this.
Here is our agenda for today. We're covering 1. The Great Adenosine Blockade, 2. Adrenaline and dopamine release, 3. The afternoon system crash, 4. Building caffeine tolerance, and finally, 5. Resetting your brain's receptors.
Starting off with Section 1, the Great Adenosine Blockade.
To really understand how caffeine changes things, we first need to look at your brain's baseline operating system before caffeine even enters the picture. And that whole system starts with a molecule called adenosine. You can think of adenosine like your brain's natural fatigue gauge. It's actually a byproduct of ATP, which is the molecule your cells use for energy. So basically, the more energy you expend throughout the day, the more adenosine accumulates. And as it builds up, it signals your body to suppress wakefulness, increasing what we call sleep pressure. It's essentially your body's built-in timer telling you, hey, it's time to rest.
But caffeine completely hijacks this process. Natural adenosine acts as the sleep signal, binding to specific receptors in the brain, primarily the A1 and A2A receptors in the basal ganglia, to slow down your neural activity. But caffeine plays the imposter molecule. Its molecular structure is just similar enough to adenosine to sneak into those exact same receptors. But here's the catch: it doesn't actually activate them. It just sits there, blocking the door, so the actual adenosine can't get in. So by preventing your brain from receiving its own natural fatigue signals, caffeine hacks the system to keep you artificially awake and alert.
Moving to Section 2, adrenaline and dopamine release. Blocking adenosine is really just the first domino to fall. Let's walk through the step-by-step biological cascade that happens right after. Step 1, like we said, caffeine blocks the adenosine. Because the brain's natural braking system is now completely offline, Step 2 happens. Excitatory neurotransmitters are suddenly free to vastly increase your neuron firing. Now, this sudden uptick in brain activity doesn't go unnoticed. In Step 3, your pituitary gland detects this flurry of neural firing and essentially rings the alarm bell. It sends signals all the way down to your adrenal glands, which leads us to Step 4, the release of adrenaline, or epinephrine. This is your body's classic fight-or-flight hormone. The wild part about all of this is that caffeine doesn't actually give you raw energy. Instead, it literally tricks your body into a mild state of emergency. It increases your blood pressure, elevates your heart rate, opens your airways, and forces your liver to release sugars just to give you that sudden boost.
But, there's a mood-boosting element here too. Caffeine actually improves your mood by delaying dopamine reabsorption. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that caffeine doesn't force your body to manufacture more dopamine. Dopamine, of course, being the neurotransmitter responsible for making us feel good, motivated, and rewarded. So what caffeine actually does is trap the dopamine that's already floating around in your brain by blocking its reabsorption back into your cells. It slows down the rate at which dopamine leaves, keeping those levels artificially elevated for just a little bit longer. This locks in that feel-good sensation, which, interestingly enough, is remarkably similar to the neurochemistry of a runner's high.
This brings us to Section 3, the afternoon system crash.
We all know the saying, right? What goes up must inevitably come down. So what actually happens when the caffeine wears off? Remember, caffeine didn't magically eliminate your fatigue or stop your body from producing adenosine all morning. It just held it at bay. It effectively put a temporary dam in the river of your brain's sleep signals.
And this brings us to the rebound effect. When the caffeine finally metabolizes and unbinds from those A1 and A2A receptors, that dam breaks. All of that adenosine that's been steadily, quietly building up in the background all day, it rushes in and binds to your receptors simultaneously. This creates a massive, sharp spike in sleep pressure. Have you ever felt that intense 4 p.m. brain fog and irritability? That is quite literally your body paying off an energy debt all at once. The sudden onset of fatigue and lowered mood isn't just random. It's a delayed biological response to a powerful signal that's been waiting to land all day.
Section 4. Building caffeine tolerance. Now, your brain is incredibly smart, and it defends itself against this daily hacking through a process called upregulation. Because regular caffeine intake is constantly blocking its receptors, the brain responds by simply creating more of them. Now, because you have all these new A1 and A2A receptors, you suddenly require a much higher dose of caffeine just to block them all and reach your normal baseline level of alertness. This creates a really vicious cycle of chronic intake. Over time, this leads to heavily reduced efficacy of the stimulant itself, and more importantly, severely disrupted slow-wave sleep. When caffeine chronically interferes with your adenosine system, especially late in the day, your sleep becomes much lighter and highly fragmented. Your brain literally can't clear waste or consolidate memory properly, which leaves you more tired the next morning and, you guessed it, desperate for an even bigger cup of coffee.
Section 5. Resetting your brain's receptors.
The good news is, it is entirely possible to clear the biological cache and restore your brain's natural sensitivity. The magic number here is 7 to 14. According to the research, that is how many days of complete caffeine cessation it takes to allow your adenosine receptor density to gradually return to normal. Going zero caffeine for 1 to 2 weeks gives your nervous system the time it absolutely needs to recalibrate. Now, fair warning, you will almost certainly experience withdrawal symptoms, things like headaches, irritability, or pretty severe brain fog during this time. But once you push through it, your receptors will be reset. The next time you reintroduce caffeine, it'll actually work like it's supposed to again.
While you're resetting, or frankly, if you just want to rely a little less on stimulants in general, there are some excellent ways to naturally support your system. First and foremost, you've got to prioritize deep, uninterrupted sleep. That is the single most powerful way to clear adenosine naturally overnight. Next, get some morning sunlight exposure early in the day. This brilliantly syncs your circadian rhythms and standardizes your natural adenosine production. You can also practice intermittent fasting, specifically fasting 12 to 14 hours overnight, which heavily supports your mitochondrial function and actually aids in adenosine turnover. Finally, consider natural nootropics that don't overstimulate the nervous system. Things like L-theanine for calm focus, rhodiola rosea to combat fatigue, or lion's mane mushroom to support cognitive function and nerve regeneration over the long term.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to ponder. If caffeine is ultimately just borrowing tomorrow's energy for today, is your current daily habit a sustainable system process? It's a really fascinating look at our own biochemistry, and I think understanding the mechanics behind the curtain really makes you rethink that mid-afternoon refill. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the brain's internal systems. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.